Today we're going to talk about Habits of a Happy Brain. So this is a book I just finished reading like 5 minutes ago, and I was like, the book is so good. I really want to come on and share my learnings. This is the cover. I don't know if you can see it. Obviously, it's going to be like the other way around, but this is how the cover looks like. And I always, when I read books, I always write like this summary of all my learnings. And so I was like, let me share some with you because the book is truly life changing. It is so extremely good. Maybe I'm gonna put it here. I don't know. I need my hands to be free, but if I need help, then I'm gonna look at this. Okay, so it's talking about these four neurochemicals that we have and that make us feel happy. The first one is dopamine, which gets released if we are able to get our needs met or achieving goals. Then there's serotonin, which makes us feel important, and it just makes us feel important. And then there is endorphin, which is actually like a natural painkiller. So some people call, if they're like jogging, they call it a runner's high. If they're jogging and then they get this like feeling of high and all these happy chemicals, what they do is they run more than their body is able to do without hurting itself. And the natural painkillers, so these endorphin chemicals, are being released so he's able to continue running. Why is the brain is doing that? Because imagine back in the days, there's a predator. It could be an animal, a lion, whatever. And you're running. And your body can't really anymore. And his resources are like being tested. But your survival is on the edge. This natural painkiller gives you the ability to continue running in order to secure your survival and to survive. So even though it might feel good, getting this runner's high is actually not like a sufficient way of gaining happy feelings on a continuous basis, because it is like using drugs. You always need more stimulation. So you need more going over your limits in order to get these endorphin, so painkillers basically, and you're getting this feeling that feels good, but what you actually do is hurting your body while doing so. So this is not a long-term solution for stimulating happy chemicals in your brain. So, and the last one is, which is my absolute favorite one, is oxytocin. So oxytocin is the bonding hormone, which will be released when we are with people who we love, who we are bonding with. And why does it feel so good? Because it also helps us secure our survival. So all of these happy chemicals are things that our brain helped created in order for us to secure our survival. So our brain has one job, and that is make us survive. That's why we often have so many fears and things that are coming up for us, or feel threatened, or even attacked. If in reality, in our modern lives, that is not a survival fear, like a survival dead, or like that actually you would, how do I say it, that actually can kill you. So for example, public speaking. It could be very frightening because you put yourself on the edge of so many people, and they could, if you say the wrong thing, they could exclude you of the tribe, and exclusion of your tribe meant risking your survival because resources are less available to you if people in your tribe have something against you. So let's see what I wrote down in this like 5-page long summary. So first of all, the very interesting thing I got out of this is really unpractical. I need to do it in a different way next time. So one thing I really got out of it is that if we want to feel more happy, we have to realize one thing. And that thing is, we're in charge of our happiness, nobody else is. I want to say that again. We're in charge of our happiness, and we're the ones who are being responsible for it. Whenever we find ourselves blaming somebody else for us being not happy, we are denying ourselves of the power we have and the responsibility we have in order to be happy. Being happy is not tied to outside circumstances, but the ability to know what triggers our happy chemicals and stimulate them in a healthy and long-term effective strategy. So I have my water here. This is so extremely exciting. I love this book. It just changed my mind about it. So, for example, sometimes, I don't know if you guys can share that with me, sometimes I felt guilty if I'm happy and other people around me are still like struggling or like being sad or miserable. And I felt guilty for being happy. And I decided after reading this book that my happiness is a great contribution that I'm giving to the world, and that I totally am allowed to feel good and totally am allowed to be happy, despite whatever is going on in the world and despite what people are going through. Because that is just so cool and so encouraging. My happiness contributes to other people's happiness. Why? Because we all have something called mirror neurons in our brain. Probably you have heard about the topic, like this quote, monkey see, monkey do, which is basically referring to that as children, but also as we grow up, but especially as children, what we see our parents do, what we see the adults in our lives do, we do that as well. So we see it and we do it. And this is because we have mirror neurons. These neurons mirror the behavior of the people around us. So when I see somebody singing very well, neural pathways in my brain also like get lit up, even though I don't do it myself, and I become better at singing just by practice. I'm sorry. So, I don't know. I'm so sorry, guys. Okay, so I become better at singing just by watching somebody else sing. And I become happier just by watching somebody who's happy. Because that person is, when I see that person being happy, neural pathways, like neural networks. So neural networks are multiple neural pathways like collected in one spot. So you have like a neural network. You have a neural network on relationships, on finances, on success, on your self-worth, on confidence, on so many things. So there is a neural pathways like being lit up when I see somebody else being happy, and that makes me automatically be more happy as well, and stimulates my own happiness like chemicals. So that's why feeling guilty when we're happy, even if the people around us are not, is totally not helping anyone, either you nor the other person. So I decided that my happiness is contributing to other people's happiness, and I deserve to be happy, and even when people around me aren't at this time. And another thing is, it is so easy to blame others when we're not feeling good. And I also decided that being happy is my responsibility and I'm responsible for it. And the book, the author is constantly saying that it is normal to have up and downs. We cannot have and feel happy all the time because of multiple reasons. These happy chemicals help us to meet our needs. So if I get dopamine from hunting or gathering food, for example, then I get my needs met. That releases dopamine because it secures my survival. The same thing with sex, the same thing with achieving any kind of goal. So we have so many needs while we are alive. This one-time hunting cannot make me happy forever because I have more needs to come. So once I have achieved this, there's going to be a down at some point because then I have the desire to go hunting again, to go gathering berries again, and therefore the dopamine helps me do it. And when I achieve it, like a lot of dopamine is being released. And I understood that in nature, we had to work in order for these happy chemicals to be released. So in order to have sex, we needed to find a mate, and then like the man had to work in some way in order to get the woman to marry her and then to have sex at some point. So there was a lot of work involved until he could see that woman naked and until he could have sex with her. And the same thing is with food. So back in the days, people had to go hunting, had to go find berries, had to work for the food, and then they could eat it. And eating it felt so good because it secured their survival. And we always have to look at it at a gene perspective. Does it help us to survive? And does it help us to how does it called? If you pass on your genes, like make kids, basically reproduce. So, for example, she's describing in when your kids do well, you feel good because your genes are being passed on and they're surviving. So we're responsible for our happiness chemicals, and no matter how much we know about neuroscience, we cannot always be happy because it is natural to have happiness dips and then ups and dips and ups because we always have more needs to get met while we are living, because while we're living, we will always have needs that secure our survival. So thinking about that, it is completely normal if we don't feel good at the time. We can know how to stimulate our happy chemicals, but it is just okay if we don't feel the same high all the time, because that is not possible. And she's talking about that we need an infrastructure of neural pathways to feel good and to feel happy. So if our brain is always looking for the information that it needs. So if I have programmed my brain to look for all the bad things in the world, I will see it because my reticular activation system is going to find, out of all of the stimulation I'm seeing in this world while I'm going through life, it will seek out the information about all the bad things because I am programmed this way, and therefore I tell my brain, this is important to me, show me more of it. That's why negative people find a lot of reasons why they can be negative. And we can do the same thing for positivity. The thing is, negativity is so easy because it helped us to survive. Our brain is basically programmed to be negative because being negative is focusing on the threats. And in the past, it has helped us a lot to focus on threats because it helped us to make sure that we're safe and therefore secure our survival. I'm so excited about this. This book is so good. I was reading it in like 3 days, And I'm just so excited to be here and share it. It is so good. I hope you're learning something in this video. I would be so happy if you write in the comments, what did you learn in this video? And what are your takeaways? I think this book was just so mind-blowing. So the thing is, nowadays, we have so much instant gratification. And I have heard this, you have heard this probably, but reading this book, I understood what this meant. So in order to have sex, we had to work, or especially men had to work, but it was just not instantly available. And in order to get food, we had to work and put in energy in order to get it. If we want to, I just draw like yesterday with my friend, and we just like did some paintings. It took me like multiple hours to finish my painting. And then I had a release of dopamine because I achieved the goal that I did. I also had a release of oxytocin because I did it with her. So it took me some time, right? If I scroll on TikTok or I get a fast food delivery, I didn't have to put a lot of work in it, but I still get the reward. This is so dangerous because we get so much reward and we are getting addicted to the dopamine. So I am currently in between changing studies. So I have been studying in a leadership college, and I'm moving to a business university in the Netherlands. And right now I had 1 month being basically at home where I did a lot of, like, I read so many books. Maybe I should do more book summaries because I have read so many cool books and I did have more time than before. So I felt myself like I needed more things to do, and I felt like it's getting boring. And I haven't felt the feeling of being bored for so long. And I realized that I didn't have like a lot of stimulation and like the dopamine hit and all of these happy chemicals that I normally had. So I realized how addicted I got to these fast dopamine hits. So, for example, food, phone, movies. You're basically, when you watch a movie, you're basically like being walked through a life and so many things that being happened. But all you do is just sit on a couch and you still have all these rewards. So I realized how many things I do that give me gratification so fast, and how those things like going for a walk, painting, it takes hours until it's finished. Like doing these kind of things that I love doing don't feel as exciting anymore because I'm so used to this big rush of dopamine. So I realize whenever I have to put in a little of work, but I get to get all of this reward, I'm basically overstimulating my brain and like releasing so many like dopamine hits without doing the work that I find these little normal things, like little things that are so beautiful in life, quite boring. So I trained myself now to do more like non-technology and non-super rewarding in like a short period of time without doing the work, if you get what I mean. Yes, this book is so good. What else? So we're responsible for our happiness. That is one thing. And the other thing, she's talking about that people are often blaming like societal problems and the politicians for the misery in their life. And she's saying that we can do that and it's easier to do that. But at the end, it doesn't change that we are responsible for our happiness and our like happiness chemicals. And I said it before, but I want to just highlight that we do have the responsibility, and it is our responsibility. And it's so cool because reading this book, like, you would just see, like, you're not a victim and you have never been a victim. And victimhood is just over, because happiness is not dependent on outside circumstances and other people. And we're responsible for it. It is so cool. I love this book. Let us see what else I have on here. Oh, the electricity in our brain takes the path of least resistance. That means that the neural pathway that we have been developing and thinking, so the thoughts that we have been thinking over and over, we will think them on default setting, because that is the roads that we have been building in our brain. So in order to build more happy roads, we need to build new neural pathways. And we do that by thinking over and over, or doing things over and over until they are deeply wired in our brain. And she's suggesting that we do a 45-day challenge where we do one thing or affirm one thought for 45 days, for example, for 10 minutes a day. So it could be, I'm happy. If you think I'm happy for 10 minutes a day, so you really focus on it, you train your focus, and you think the thought 10 minutes a day for 45 minutes, it becomes a default setting. And your electricity in your brain will automatically take this road, because it is just already being created. So happiness is basically the way you're wired. And that's why I realized people's energy says so much about them, and it never lies. If you have watched this video of mine, it's called Energy Never Lies. I have been talking about that the energy of people never lies, because it shows their thought patterns. It shows their thought patterns, and therefore their emotional patterns, and therefore the way they act, and it explains the results they have in their life. So managing our thoughts is basically managing our energy. Let us see. And she's also talking about why love feels so satisfying, because love also helps us secure our survival. First of all, if we're, for example, married, or we feel love for our relatives, it secures our survival, because people who love us means we have more access to resources, and access to resources secures our survival. And love also means that when you have a mate, so basically if you get married, your likelihood of getting children is higher, and therefore your likelihood to reproduce and have healthy offspring, and therefore you pass your genes on, is also higher. So that's why when we lose love, it can feel like a survival threat, because it was, and sometimes it still is. So we can wire to feel good just by being around by people who feel good. As I said, it's due to mirror neurons, but it also means that when we're around people who are miserable and who are suffering constantly, they will help us be wired to suffer. And no matter how much we try to set boundaries, due to mirror neurons, we always mirror the people around us, even a little bit. So that's why it's so important to check who we spend our time with and who is around us, because they have an influence on our brain. I really like that she's saying that our energy is our most valuable resource, because that is what I've been just learning the past year. I realized when I moved out from home that it was never really about finances, but it's about who does who and who spends energy on it. And that people just do things for you all the time, like your parents did, is not normal. They just did it because they love you, and it helps them to pass on their genes. So our energy is our most valuable resource, and we should treat it that way. And therefore, whenever we focus on something, our energy flows there. And when I focus on reading a book and learning about something, that is where my energy is going. And that is what I will see more in my life of. And when I focus on my energy on that, I do not have the capacity to focus my energy somewhere else at this point. So, yes, I hope I'm not too fast because I'm so excited about this. This is just so cool. And yes, now we're coming to oxytocin. So, as I said, there are different kind of happy chemicals. For specifically, dopamine, endorphin, serotonin, and oxytocin. And you can think about by what the actions you have in your life, what of these happy chemicals do you need more of in order to feel good and happier? So I realized I think dopamine I have more than enough in my life because I'm really good at setting goals and achieving them, and that releases dopamine. Serotonin is feeling respected. So I was like, I do kind of feel respected. I I wouldn't have been like a problem with getting more of it, but I don't feel like it's something that I'm really lacking or craving. Then endorphin is like these painkillers feelings. And I was like, I don't know if I need more of it. I do like work out, not to like extreme, but it makes me feel good. So I was like, oxytocin is what I think in my life would make me even happier. And oxytocin is the chemical that is being released when we are bonding. And why it feels so good is because we, as humans, we are living in tribes and we have always been living in tribes. And building relationships with other people is good for our survival. And it just feels so good. And we don't think that consciously, but it's helped us to secure our survival. And I just love being around people. And yesterday I said I was drawing with my friend, and I was drawing by myself and I felt good about it. But I really liked to have her around. And then I was like, does it really make a difference? She's not even talking to me while we're drawing because we're focused on drawing. And then we spent the evening together just drawing, and we didn't talk a lot. Like we didn't talk at all. And I realized just her presence alone makes me feel good and releases oxytocin. And I was like, that feels good. So yes. Also, oxytocin is being released when we're cuddling or when we're hugging people, and also while we're having sex. And the woman releases more oxytocin while she has sex because if a man is having sex with a woman, she has a lot of more, like a bigger risk than he. He is just giving a day worth of sperm to her, but she is risking like her life while like being pregnant and birthing a child. And she's also being stuck for 20 years with this child in order to grow it. So it's very important for her to bond to this man who gave her this sperm, because he will be important in order to provide and protect the offspring. So she knows it. That's why oxytocin is being released a lot more in the woman than in the man. And therefore, I'm never like, I'm not for one night stand. And I do believe in having sex when you're married. But that's why one night stand for women make less sense than for a man, because she will get in such a emotional tumult just because of the oxytocin that's being released. And if women can say, I can turn off my emotions and I can turn like off, like I can just have a one night stand, I don't believe in it, because oxytocin is being released. And unless you can control that is being released, no matter how much you turn your emotions off, as people say, which I don't believe is like for a woman and like a healthy feminine woman possible, then yeah, you're gonna be bonding if you want it or not. So I would not recommend. mm, so mm, mm, mm. I really, 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 really love this book. I was reading it. And I was like, I have to come on and share what I've learned. This book is so great. I hope you enjoyed listening to this, listening to these great insights, because it just helped me so much to realize how we're responsible for our happiness, but also to see what's happening. So when I eat now, I realize, that feels so good, and dopamine is being released because it secures my survival. And that also makes me understand, while I feel very lonely, what I need is a release of oxytocin. So I can think about, hey, what does I need in a sense of what does make me feel better? It's not that I need a new dopamine hit, it's that I need oxytocin and I want it to be stimulated. So I can do activities that stimulate oxytocin and reach out to people and communicate in a way that can make my needs being met. So I hope you really like this video. I do offer private one-on-one coaching around the topic of inner work, working on these cool things, and raising your self-worth, raising your confidence, being more connected to our feminine energy, and feeling good and being happy. If you desire to work with me, my email address is in the link of the bio, in the description box. Just write me an email and we will work something out. I love to see you in the next video. I really am so excited if you learned something from this video, and what was your aha moment, because I love reading and I love talking about books. So maybe I'm gonna I should make a playlist and put all book summaries in there, because I've read so many books that I think they would just so fun to do that. So you will see this video in the book playlist of summaries, and I will add some more in the future. I hope you have a great day. Much love. Bye bye.